According to the most recent Canadian retirement survey, more than 36% of Canadians have less than $5,000 in savings, and more than 66% of Canadians plan to continue working past 65 just to pay the bills. I don't know about you, but these are some really concerning statistics. But why are so many Canadians finding it so difficult to retire early? Is it because of the rising real estate prices, inflation, cost of living? Well, after helping hundreds of clients be on track to retire early in their 40s and 50s, all while enjoying life, these are the top 10 common mistakes that I see people make, preventing them from being able to retire. Starting with the first mistake, which is really the root problem as to why Canadians can't afford to retire. You see, growing up in a Chinese and Korean immigrant family, my mom just told me to put your head down and work hard. And so that's exactly what I did, until I realized that I was working extremely hard, but in the wrong direction. And this is a mistake that many Canadians make, which is trying to save and invest their money without really knowing if they're actually on track to retire. That's the reason why the first mistake preventing Canadians from being able to retire is simply not having an early retirement plan. An early retirement plan essentially tells you exactly what you need to start doing today so that you can retire early. And one of the main benefits of having this plan is that it will tell you whether you're on track to retire, and if not, what you need to change so that you can get back on track. For example, with one of my clients, we built her an early retirement plan where she realized, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be able to retire. And so this was really the fire under her ass to start making changes to her life. She was able to get a new job and increase her income, stop spending money on things that she honestly really didn't need, and start learning about how to actually manage and invest her own money. And in just a few years, she was able to more than double her income, pay off all of her student loans, and now she's on track to retire early in her 50s. And this is why you need an early retirement plan, because it will tell you if you're on track to retire, and if not, what you need to do to get back on track. And if you want to start learning about how to build your own early retirement plans so that you can retire young, not old, all while enjoying life, then get access to my free early retirement calculator. I'll leave a link to it in the description below. Now, the third reason why Canadians can't afford to retire is because of a major misconception of investing. Let me explain. Recently, on a financial audit, I was talking to someone who said, I never invest my money because investing is risky. And so because of this, she just worked extremely hard at her job, trying to save money. But here's the problem. Let's say you're in your 30s and you need about $1.5 million to retire. Without investing, you would need to save about $50,000 per year, which is very difficult to do even with a very high income. But if you're investing your money at an average rate of return of about 8% per year, you only need to save about $9,000 per year. That's a $40,000 difference. And so a common mistake that a lot of Canadians make is that they simply aren't investing their money because they think investing is risky. But here's the thing. Risk is relative to your skill level. Just like swimming, if you don't know how to swim, swimming in the pool is really risky. But if you learn how to swim, then swimming in the pool could actually be a lot of fun and not risky at all. And so this person decided to sign up for my private coaching program, where I taught her how to invest her own money on less than 1 hour per month, where her investments are now growing by 8 to 10% per year. And now she doesn't need to save $50,000 per year, and she only needs to save $9,000 per year. And this is why you need to learn about how to invest your own money so that investing isn't risky to you anymore. The third reason why Canadians can't afford to retire is something that could work for you or against you. Let me explain. Let's say you want to retire by 60 and you plan to invest about $100,000 at an average rate of return of about 8% per year. Now, if you start at 20, you'll have $2.1 million. If you start at 30, you'll have $1 million. And if you start at 40, you'll only have $460,000. And so what most Canadians don't realize is that the biggest chunk of wealth that you build actually happens in the last 10 to 15 years of retirement. And this is because of the power of compounding. You see, for the first year, your investments are only going to grow by $8,000 per year. But by year 30, your investments are now growing by $170,000 per year. And this is why Albert Einstein once called compound interest the eighth wonder of the world, because when used right, it can exponentially grow your wealth. But here's the catch. It can work for you or against you. Start investing in your 20s, you'll have $2.1 million. Wait until you're 40 and you'll only have $400,000. That's a $1.6 million difference. And that's one of the biggest reasons why Canadians can't afford to retire, which is that they waited too long to start investing their money. One of my clients is a couple in their late 40s, and they just started investing their money. And because of this, they have to work a lot harder to hit their retirement goals. But the silver lining is that now they can use this knowledge to teach their kids about how to invest their money starting in their teens. And since these kids are investing their money at such an early age, they're definitely going to be millionaires. And so remember, the best time to invest was yesterday. The next best time to invest is today. Now, even though you might be investing your money early, you still might not be able to retire. And here's why. After performing over 500 financial audits with Canadians, something that I often see is that a lot of people either have a low risk or balanced stock investment portfolio. And when I ask them why, they say, oh, it's because I don't want to take a lot of risk during retirement. But here's the thing. If you have a low risk or balanced stock investment portfolio now, you're only able to get about a 4% rate of return per year. And so if you need $1.5 million to retire in 30 years, that means you need to save over $26,000 per year, which means if you're not able to do this, you're not going to have enough money to retire. But instead, if you invest in a high-risk stock investment portfolio where you can get an average rate of return of about 8% per year, that means you only need to save $13,000 per year. That's about a $13,000 difference per year in savings. And so ironically, by choosing a low-risk stock investment portfolio today, you're actually creating more risk for yourself because you're not going to have enough money to retire. This is why a common mistake preventing Canadians from being able to retire is having a low-risk stock investment portfolio. Generally, if you're far away from retirement, then you can have a very high-risk, high-growth stock investment portfolio because even if the stock market crashes tomorrow, that doesn't matter to you because you don't need this money for another 20, 30 years. Now, as you get closer to retirement, this is when you want to rebalance your stock investment portfolio to a more low risk or balanced stock investment portfolio. And by doing this, you're able to maximize your returns when you're far away from retirement, but then reduce your risk once you're in retirement. One of my clients was in his early 30s, and he had over $200,000 in savings for retirement. But he was wondering, why aren't my investments growing? Well, when we took a look, he was invested in a low-risk stock investment portfolio, which was recommended by his financial advisor. And so we took the money out, built him a high-risk, high-growth stock investment portfolio, where just last year, his investments grew by $10,000 to $20,000. And this is why you need a tailor-made stock investment portfolio based on where you currently are today. Now, even though you might be investing your own money, you still might not be able to retire early, and here's why. In Canada, if you invest your money through a financial advisor, they'll invest your money through mutual funds, which has an average management fee of about 2.5%. Also, if you invest your money through a regular broker like Wealthsimple, RBC, or TD, they'll charge you a 1.5% currency conversion fee. And although this may not seem like a lot of money, in the long run, this is literally hundreds of thousands of dollars. For example, let's say you're investing $10,000 per year over 30 years at an average rate of return of about 8% per year. But after paying all of the financial advisor management fees, currency conversion fees, you're only left with about 5% per year. Well, in this case, if you're investing your money at an 8% rate of return, you'll have a total of $1.1 million. But at a 5% rate of return, you'll only have $600,000. That's a $500,000 difference. And so that's the reason why one of the most common mistakes preventing Canadians from being able to retire early is not taking into consideration the management and foreign exchange fees. And so that's why I'm so excited to share the sponsor of this video. Moomoo is an online investment broker with over 27 million global users, and they've won multiple awards as one of the best brokers in the world. And I specifically like Moomoo for its extremely low currency conversion fees. To exchange money from Canadian dollars to USD, using Moomoo, you only have to pay a flat fee of $2 plus 0.09% currency conversion fee. And if you compare this with other brokers like Wealthsimple, RBC, or TD, this is a big difference. For example, let's say you're trying to convert $100,000 from Canadian dollars to USD. With Moomoo, you'll only be paying $92. While with Wealthsimple, RBC, or TD, you'll be paying about $1,500. And so you're essentially saving $1,400 right away. With Moomoo, you can also hold money in USD within your TFSA or RSP, which means you only have to pay a one-time currency conversion fee instead of having to convert your money each time you want to buy or sell a stock. Now, there are some platforms like Questrade where you can convert your money using a strategy called Norbert's Gambit. And with this strategy, you only have to pay a flat fee of about $10. But the thing is, in order to implement the strategy, you have to buy the ETF, journal your shares, wait 3 to 4 business days, and then sell your shares again. And so it's a bit of a tedious process. When the markets are volatile and changing really quickly, a lot can happen in 3 to 4 business days. And that's the reason why I like using Moomoo, because its currency conversion fees are really low, and you can convert your money instantly. And right now, Moomoo has some really great sign-up bonuses where you can get up to $300 when you deposit just $5,000 or more, and with over $2,000 in commission rebates. And so to sign up and get these bonuses and save a lot of money on your currency conversion fees, then feel free to use my referral link in the description below. Another reason why Canadians can't afford to retire is going to be some tough love and a wake-up call for many Canadians. You see, gone are the days where you can buy a home in Toronto or Vancouver for a couple $100,000 and live comfortably under $2,000 per month. You see, over the past decade, real estate prices in Toronto have increased by 77%, and the cost of living has increased by 17%. Meanwhile, salaries haven't increased nearly as fast. And the mistake that a lot of Canadians make is that they think that they can retire in these expensive cities without much effort. But the truth is, unless you come from a wealthy family where you have $1 million inheritance and a fully paid off condo waiting for you, if you want to live in an expensive city in Canada, and with all of the benefits that come with it, you gotta be willing to put in the work to afford this lifestyle. And if you're not willing to put in the work, that's totally fine. But that might mean you have to work in another province, city, or country with a lower cost of living. For example, one of my clients honestly doesn't make that much money. Collectively, as a couple, they make less than $100,000 per year. But the thing is, they moved to Bali, Indonesia, where their cost of living is significantly lower than Canada. And so they don't actually have to make that much money to live comfortably there. For example, they bought and built their own villa for under $200,000. And they're well on track to retire early in their 50s. And so just remember, if you want to live in an expensive city, you have to be willing to put in the work to afford this lifestyle. Another reason why Canadians can't afford to retire is because they have this false sense of security. Now, during retirement, a lot of Canadians, they don't need to save much for retirement because they have a pension and government benefits like CPP and OAS. The truth is, oftentimes, these benefits aren't enough to retire comfortably in Canada. According to Statistics Canada, only about 37% of Canadians have a workplace pension plan. And so it's clear that a lot of companies are significantly reducing or completely just getting rid of their company pension plan. In terms of CPP, the amount that you get is based on the number of years that you would contribute to it. And if you're an employee, you're automatically required to contribute to it. And the max CPP benefit is about $16,000 per year. Now, OAS is a source of income that you get after the age of 65. And the amount that you get is based on the number of years that you've lived in Canada. And the max OAS benefit is about $8,500 per year. Now, if we add CPP and OAS together, the total is only about $24,000 per year, which is definitely not enough to live off of in Canada. And to make things worse, although these things increase alongside inflation, many expenses like groceries, rent, healthcare increase a lot faster than inflation, which essentially means what you can buy with $24,000 in 20, 30 years when you want to retire is going to be a lot less than it is today. For example, initially my client thought that he didn't really need to save that much for retirement because of his workplace pension and CPP and OAS. But when we built him an early retirement plan, he realized that he wouldn't be able to sustain his lifestyle solely relying on this source of income. And so we were able to create a plan where he's saving additional money for retirement so that he can sustain his lifestyle. And this is why it's important to start building a retirement plan today so that you could actually start to make changes to your life so that you can hit your retirement goals in the future. Another mistake preventing Canadians from being able to retire is something that many don't consider until it's too late. You see, many Canadians just blindly save for retirement, putting money away in their RSP. And the benefit of putting money in your RSP is that it reduces your taxable income for the year. But what a lot of Canadians don't realize is that at the age of 71, you're forced to convert your RSP into something called a RIF. A RIF stands for Registered Income Fund. And you're essentially forced to withdraw a certain amount of money from your RIF every single year after the age of 71. Now, the problem with it is that you could potentially push your income to a higher tax bracket during your retirement. And so sometimes it would actually be better for you to pay taxes today rather than more later. And this is a common mistake that a lot of Canadians make, which is not having a proper retirement tax planning strategy. One of my family friends had a really good work pension plan and always made sure to max out her RSP. But because of this, when she retired, she was actually in a higher tax bracket than when she was working. And so in the long run, she actually would have just been better off to pay more taxes while she was working rather than paying more taxes during her retirement. And so this is why you need a tax planning strategy for retirement, which will save you thousands of dollars in the long run. Another mistake preventing Canadians from being able to retire is following traditional retirement strategies. Let me explain. For the longest time, most people used the 4% rule to determine how much they actually need to save for retirement. The 4% rule is essentially the amount that you can safely withdraw from your stock investment portfolio. And so, for example, let's say your annual expenses in retirement is about $50,000. That means you would need a total stock investment portfolio of about $1.25 million so that you can safely withdraw about 4% each year to cover your expenses in retirement. Now, there are a few problems with this. The first thing is that people are living longer. According to Pension Daily, the average life expectancy in Canada has increased by about 6 years over the past 30 years. But the thing is, the 4% rule has a 90% success rate based on a 30-year time horizon. But if you're retiring at 60 but living past 90, that is a longer retirement period. And so your chances of running out of money significantly increases. Also, if you plan to retire in your 40s and 50s, you will also have a longer retirement period. And so in this case, you might need a more conservative withdrawal rate of about 3.5% or 3.8%. And this is why a lot of Canadians can't afford to retire, is because they plan their retirement simply using the 4% rule, but then later realize that they actually need a lot more to retire comfortably. And this is why you should use the 4% rule more as a benchmark rather than the exact number that you need to retire. Instead, what I help my clients with is figuring out what sort of lifestyle that they want to have during retirement, and then creating a tailor-made plan and stock investment strategy to support this lifestyle. Remember, personal finance is personal, and so should your approach to saving and investing for your retirement. The last mistake preventing Canadians from being able to retire in Canada is likely the most important, but often the most overlooked. You see, before working with me, one of my clients thought it was impossible to retire. And because of this, she didn't even try. And so in her 20s, she just spent money, didn't invest, and lived her life. But by the time she was in her 30s, she hardly had any money in her savings. And so this leads me to the last mistake preventing Canadians from being able to retire, which is not believing that it's possible for you. Because if you don't think it's possible, you won't even try. And so when we started working together, I helped her build an early retirement plan that told her exactly what she needed to do to retire in her 50s. And when she could clearly see that, oh my gosh, this is possible for me, this is when she was able to start taking the right actions to actually achieve this goal. And so one of the secrets to be able to retire early in your 40s and 50s is to believe that this is possible for you, because this is when you'll start to find solutions to make this your new reality. Okay, and so these are the top 10 common mistakes that I see Canadians make, preventing them from being able to retire in Canada. And you might have noticed, but there's a common solution that will help you avoid most, if not all, of these common mistakes, which is simply having an early retirement plan. This plan won't just tell you how much you need to save and invest for retirement, but it'll also help you believe that this goal is actually possible for you. And so if you want to learn how to build your own early retirement plan so that you can retire young, not old, while enjoying life, then watch this video next.